Let's get more now from CCTV's Jen Keo, who's live in Addis Ababa. So, Jen, President Salva Kiir did not show up and instead sent Riek Machar's replacement, although the AU has refused to recognize the new vice president. How did that play out with the IGAD members today?
Well, Penina, this was certainly not an issue for IGAD members. Taban Deng, the vice president, did attend this meeting as a full representative of the transitional government of South Sudan. He was officially appointed by President Salva Kiir, and for IGAD, South Sudan is a sovereign state, and in this matter, they've of course described it as an internal opposition affair. However, part of the SPLM-IO, this is the opposition, people who are still supporting Riek Machar did have an issue with Taban Deng's presence at this meeting, and as such they described the meeting as a sham. They maintain that his appointment is illegal, and they've said they want him to step down so that they can relaunch peace efforts in South Sudan. Penina?
So this IGAD summit, Jane, is pushing for lasting solutions in South Sudan. What are some of the proposals they're likely to come up with?
Well, for starters, Penina, we expect IGAD to reiterate the need for the two parties to respect the August peace agreement. This is and has always been their key message. Secondly, high on the agenda in today's meeting was the issue of discussions on the modalities on the deployment of this regional protection unit to South Sudan. Of course, this is an issue that was agreed on a couple of weeks ago during that African Union summit in Kigali. Now, the leaders were to discuss the modalities, the exact mandate of this regional force. Is it just going to be a protection unit, or can it use force where necessary, as was the case with the intervention brigade in the DRC a couple of years ago? Because if it remains as a protection unit, it would just have a similar mandate with that of UNMISS, which is currently in South Sudan. Now, the leaders were also to provide the exact details on the timelines for the deployment of this regional force, the issue of funding, the contributing countries plus their numbers. Of course, we know that Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Ethiopia have all said they're ready to contribute troops to this regional force. But the leaders must also find a way to convince the South Sudan government, which has been adamant on this issue. They must find a way to convince the government to accept this deployment. Secondly, we were expecting them to highlight the issue of the deteriorating humanitarian situation in South Sudan. Of course, the refugee numbers are growing. The UN has warned that they could rise to about 1 million by the end of the year. And Penina, really, the fact that this is the third summit in a span of just 1 month on South Sudan, it simply shows that there's an urgency and the magnitude of this situation in South Sudan. Penina?
All right, Jen Keo joining us live there from Addis Ababa. Many thanks, Jen.